Okay. Before we get into the workshop, hi Whitney. It's so good to see you.
You too.
I just wanted to explain. So this is my pelvis, not my pelvis, a pelvis, pink pelvis, if you will. So I just wanted to explain a little bit about how to arrive on your mat early in the morning in the most comfortable way possible. And one of the things that you want to do is drink as much fluid as you need to start your day. I think that that's subject to the individual and it changes throughout our yoga practice. But come with me on a journey inside of the pelvic bowl, if you will. So in front here is your bladder, right? I'm sorry, bud. In front here is your bladder. In the middle is like the sex organs, vaginal canal. That's down a little bit more. If you're a woman, men are a little bit different. And then you have the large intestine. So if these little holes here, can you guys see those okay? Little holy McHoles. Yeah. So that's where your leg bone goes into your pelvis. So in yoga, we do a lot of, oh, Beam's here, cool. We do a lot of forward folding. So the idea is you want this space here to be as empty as possible, right? Like some nights our partners make us delicious vegetable soup that we wake up in the morning and everything is gone and there's no inflammation and a dove lands on our shoulder and it's the most beautiful morning ever. Other nights we eat lasagna or something that maybe takes a little bit longer to move through. So I say that because yoga is such an embodied thing. You can do the technique wrong, but you can't feel it wrong, right? So if there's any sort of like tension or holding in the pelvic bowl here, those could be, or if it's in the hamstrings, that could be potentially a reason why there might feel like some stiffness as you start the practice. Also, the idea of keeping an empty bladder is not, me or whichever Mysore teacher that you come across being some sort of like crazy, masochist, like you must become dehydrated during your practice. The idea is you just want to keep that space as empty as possible so you can keep that motion nice and fluid in the pelvic bowl. All right, so I guess we're just gonna jump right into it. I'm so happy you guys are here. So this is our beginners slash begin again slash a lot of you guys have really long-term practices already. So we're coming into this workshop from all different places, but the idea is that by the end of this couple of hours together, we are going to be able to have a really good foundation of what the core practices of yoga are, specifically Ashtanga yoga. So that's my specialty. That's what I specialize in. And we're going to use the elements of the method today to have a standing place to go wherever you decide to go in your yoga practice. To start, I would like to ask everyone a couple of questions and a little bit about me. So I do really well with feedback and questions and engagement. I love hearing from you guys as we work through those things and or as we work through all of these techniques in the workshop. And this is kind of a way for all of us to kind of vibe together too. So if we were in like pre-COVID times, we would all be in a room together. Hi Beam, how are you?
Hello. Good. How are you? Thank you.
Thank you. We would all be in a yoga room together, but because of COVID, we've have this great remote tool. And I find we can still engage with each other through our little boxes as best as possible. So we're just, yeah, we're gonna go with it. So two questions. What is your background in yoga? So do you have any previous experience in yoga? Is this your first time on the mat? And also, what do you hope to get out of this workshop? So I will start. I started my yoga practice in 2003 in a high school gym and kind of dabbled from 2003 to 2009 like a locomotive on a track. Like I just kept doing more and more yoga as I got older. And then in 2009, I came to an Ashtanga yoga practice. And from 2009, when I got into a Mysore room, I ended up going to India like 6 months later. I was just so sold on the practice and having all of that experience before to get into India. And then I've been to India 5 times since. I've run a Mysore program now for the last 7 years, and I've had it daily practice for the last 11 years. So that's kind of where I'm coming from and specializing in Ashtanga yoga. So that's my forte. But I also work as a doula and a prenatal yoga instructor as well. So yeah, that's a little bit about me. Do you want to start off in the Pascal and Jess? Do you mind starting off? So your yoga background and what you hope to get out of this workshop.
My name is Pascal. I practice Ashtanga yoga with Melissa for almost, this is our third year, Melissa, right?
It is, yeah.
Third year. Before that, I did yoga on and off. I used to do yoga park side too. And but before that, I did yoga on and off. I was a weightlifter. So that was fun too, and a runner. And I'm getting older. I'm 52, and so I needed something that has more structure, so that when I went to visit my family abroad, I would be able to still practice yoga and feel like I was keeping the way Ashtanga yoga makes me feel. So, and I'm a grandmother and a mother. I mean, I've done all kinds of things.
Thanks so much, Pascal. Oh, and what do you hope to get out of this workshop?
Just a restart in some ways of my although, you know, I tend to practice, you know, as much as I can. Sometimes, you know, it's nice to refresh the things that you already know, that you think you know. You can relearn, you can learn more things, that more details that you might have forgotten, you know, in your getting so much better at yoga.
Cool. Thanks, Pascal. Jess?
I'm Jess. I'm her daughter-in-law. I'm 23. I started yoga. I think I took some classes like through school or like at my local gym in high school. And I was also a cheerleader all through high school. So I just decided that like to help. I took it more as to help my flexibility taking yoga. And then in college, I took some classes, and then it wasn't until like the summer before my senior year of college that I started going to Yoga Parkside for a little bit with Pascal, and then now that I've like graduated, moved on, got my own job, and money is money, I usually do like YouTube yoga. Um, so, but and then what I want to get out of this is I've never done Ashtanga yoga. I've done like I don't know the different types of yoga, but like just normal, not normal yoga, but there's just a new type of yoga I can learn.
Yeah, we'll definitely take a second too in the workshop to like kind of be able to discern between like pop yoga and Ashtanga yoga, and understand the differences. So awesome. Thanks, Jess. Don, I'm just going across.
Mhm.
Oh, I can't hear you.
Okay, I just unmuted myself because my dog was barking. But so my yoga journey started in 2008 with Bikram yoga, and I loved it, and I pretty much delved right into it and did it pretty often throughout the week. And I think because I pushed myself too hard, I ended up having back issues because of it, because I didn't listen to my body and I tried to push myself more than I should have. Kind of took a little bit of a break from that and learned from someone else about power yoga. So I went there starting in 2012 and really enjoyed that practice. I guess I'm a learner. I love learning a lot about all the different types of yoga and what they have to offer. I think I started dabbling in a few classes at Ashtanga yoga a few years ago, and I love the practice there. I think I would attend more if I lived closer. I live in Lancaster. I guess what I want to get out of this, what I'm looking to get out of this, I'm trying to think of the word, is to reset and reconnect with my community. And I think my yoga practice, I started out being more interested in the physical aspect of it and getting stronger. And now as I'm getting older, I'm 50 now, I'm more interested in learning about the sutras and the spiritual part of yoga. I guess that's it.
Well, thanks so much, Don. Marcy.
There we go. Hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you okay.
I started yoga in 2009 at the gym, and then found hot yoga, Bikram, and started a teacher training in Anusara. And at the same time, found Elise's Ashtanga yoga when she opened in Albuquerque, New Mexico in 2011.
I'm just going to pause you for a second. So Marcy and I share the same teacher. So her first teacher in Ashtanga yoga was my first teacher. And we met when I was covering for Elise in Albuquerque a lifetime ago, while she was in India. And then she came back and I went to India. So that's how Marcy and I know each other. And Elise is a lovely, wonderful Ashtanga teacher who is no longer holding space online anymore either. I think she's just doing her practice.
I think so, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
sorry to cut you.
No, that's fine. Meeting Melissa was probably one of the highest points in my Ashtanga learning. I just loved her so much. I remember we had the 6 p.m. Mysore classes, and a lot of time I was the only one that show up, so I got a private with Melissa.
Oh, those are fun.
And she gave me great adjustments, which I miss so much. Anyway, so I started that teacher training, same time found Ashtanga, and was trying to do both things at the same time, Anusara teacher training and Ashtanga. and I got deeper into pretty much everything yoga, and eventually ended up doing a teacher training in Ashtanga with Tim Miller in Encinitas, and eventually found the Rocket, another for takeoff on Ashtanga yoga, which I'm 60, and a lot of the Rocket practice is so fun because there's a lot of handstands, but yet there's still Ashtanga base, and they don't care if you modify and use props. So I kind of like getting away with that. And then I teach as well, teach Ashtanga and Rocket at a climbing gym. Teach that. And then I work a lot. I'm still working mail carrier. I've been since COVID working almost 70 hours a week, and it's really killing my practice. I get up really early and work all day and come home at night. Me and my husband built this yoga room, finally got it done, and the COVID hit, and I hardly get to use it at all because I'm so tired from working so much.
Yeah.
So one of my main things is I might actually need a private lesson with you, Melissa. I don't know. I mean, I know my excuses work, but I just feel like I have no discipline.
Right.
I mean, maybe I'm just getting down on myself.
You know, we're going to go over
I
today.
have a few certain postures in my practice that you know, like my right knee and my right ankle and stuff like that. My shoulder stand kind of sucks. I gained a little weight around the belly, and I can't, like, you know, bind too much anymore. You know, things are falling apart. I need help.
We, you know, there were a couple of things that you had mentioned, but with respect to time, we'll circle back to that in the middle of the workshop, but thank you. Yeah. Elizabeth, hi. I think oh yeah, you're muted.
I was just trying to find my way to the unmute button. So I feel my yoga practice has actually really benefited from COVID, in that I live in Western Massachusetts, but I grew up in Buffalo. And so when I visit my parents, when I was still entertaining, starting a Mysore practice, I visited Melissa at the studio, and that I wasn't the first time I went to AYB, I wasn't practicing Mysore quite yet. And so I feel really grateful for Melissa's influence in kind of tipping the scales for my Mysore practice. I fell in love with Bikram as well as some of the other ladies here in 2007. I practiced that until 2010 when I moved to Western Massachusetts. And my Ashtanga background is primarily in a lead class, and I wanted more. I knew there was more. I wanted more, and so in and around 2000, well, the lead class was so close to my house, so close. I could ride my bike, and so that made it harder to transition to driving 30 minutes to the Mysore studio. But my eagerness to have more depth in my practice and to be leading myself after 8 years of practicing lead, I made the jump to Mysore and practiced locally for about a year and almost a half, and then joined Zoom Shala after COVID became our way of being. But I'm a high school math teacher, and so now I'm doing a lot of sitting, and that's not my natural way of being, but it has become the way of being. This is, so I've been practicing, I just sort of did the math, right? Earlier this morning, for almost 14 years. This is my first workshop. So I feel excited to talk about yoga while not doing yoga. All of my other experiences has been trying to think about it as I'm practicing it. And so just to be doing one of those things at a time, I think is going to be just really refreshing. So talking about yoga while not practicing, and yeah, I'm excited for that. And my practice is not as disciplined or regular, maybe 2 or 3 times a week right now. And I dream of waking up easily at 5 a.m. every day and practicing for an hour and a half. So
The dove on the shoulder.
pardon me?
I said the dove on the shoulder and like
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
that dream.
Yeah. So
Cool.
I'm excited to be here. Thank you.
Well, thanks, Elizabeth.
Mhm.
Whitney, it's been forever.
Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you okay. Yeah.
Okay, I can turn it up a little too if I need to. So I had the, I guess, divine occasion of meeting Melissa in a small business networking event virtually a couple of months ago. I started practicing yoga in 2006, and I attended a bunch of different styles of yoga at a YMCA in Michigan, where I was living at the time, and I fell in love with it. It was part of like the rhythm of my life, and at a time when I just needed to keep moving. And so I practiced pretty consistently from 2006 to about 2011. And of course, I kind of was more fond of the, I would say, flow style of yoga, not the aerobic per se. I don't like the screaming, shouting type of yoga, the power yoga. And I kind of chose teachers that were more in my preference, that sort of kind of peaceful but flow, get the heart moving. And then from 2011, I got married and moved around, and my practice sort of fell away because I started working way too many hours, a lot of stress in my life when I probably needed yoga most. And it wasn't until 2016 that I just forced myself to a studio. And I think someone else said it was so convenient that it really fit with my lifestyle. It was 5 minutes drive and I could go anytime, day or night. The first classes started early and they ended late at night. So I had a lot of options, and I made use of them widely. I was practicing 5 or 6 days a week, but then moved here to Western New York in 2018. And once again, kind of had other priorities and things demanding my time. So I've been very inconsistent, and I think I've maybe had 2 classes since then. So when I met Melissa, but I'm always like shoulding on myself. I'm always feeling like, oh, I really need to do yoga. So this is a way for me to hold myself accountable and hopefully be a part of a community that can do the same. So, and I need to sort of reset, and a lot of things changed in my life just recently. So this is like a way of kind of a new birth. So I'm really excited. Thank you.
Cool. Thanks, Whitney. Beam. It's nice to
Oh,
meet you. Hello.
nice to meet you all. My name is Bhim Dungana. This is my first class for yoga. I never did yoga before. Even though I wanted to do, I saw Ashtanga Yoga, your company name, like 1 year ago, but I wait so long to start. So I don't have any experience or anything with yoga, so I don't have much to share today, but I am looking forward to learn physical as well as spiritual aspect of yoga. So
Cool. Thank you so much. I'm so happy you're here.
yeah.
And that goes for everyone. I'm so happy that you guys are here. And that I've prepared something that's very in line with what you guys are expecting. So that's a win for me. So before we get into it, I want to take a second to talk about Ashtanga yoga and popular yoga. I'll use that term mostly because my boyfriend yesterday was like, oh, it's just different than the pop yoga. And I was like, yes, exactly. I'm going to use that. Thank you. So Ashtanga yoga is a movement-based practice where you use system and method to go deeper into concentration. Ashtanga is a Sanskrit word. So ashtau is 8, not 9, 8. Ashtau, 8. Anga is limbs. So 8 limbs. You have yama, niyama, asana, pranayama, pratyahara, dharana, dhyana, samadhi. 8. Asana, the physical piece of it in Ashtanga yoga, in this method, is just one of the 8. So we put a lot of emphasis on the asana piece of it because of the bodies that we're teaching. We're teaching Western bodies that like to move, that have you guys ever heard the term monkey mind? Right? So we've all got that like cute, adorable little monkey that's just running around flinging bananas at walls. Like, so that is quintessential the Western mind. So what the asana does is it gives us something to focus on, right? So we use a lot of asana in Ashtanga yoga, and the experience of focusing on the asana, focusing on the postures, is called samadhi, or complete absorption. That's the 8th limb of yoga, right? It's all the way at the end. But in Ashtanga, don't think of it as like, okay, now I've ticked off the yama box, now I've ticked off the niyama box, okay, now I'm going to tick off the asana box. It's not like a scaffold, right? It's more of a fluid experience, right? I'm going to read a passage about samadhi that I found to be so helpful in wrapping my mind around the difference between this approach to yoga as opposed to the pop approach to yoga, like pop culture approach to yoga. So it's from, have you guys ever seen this book? Eddie Stern's book? Yeah. So Eddie is one of the first students to bring Ashtanga back to the West. And he wrote this awesome book. I'll leave it for you guys in a follow-up email note if you guys ever wanted to do a little bit more reading on it. So
It's on Audible too. It's great to
awesome.
listen to.
Thanks, Marcy. Yeah, you can listen. That's very Ashtanga too, right? We're paying attention, but we're also moving. It's good. Okay, so samadhi means absorption, and it is a natural tendency of the mind to become absorbed in things, whether thoughts, objects, work, ideas, a love interest, or goals. When it comes to absorbing the mind in spiritual pursuits, the mind is said to take on the form of that which we are contemplating. And eventually, that deep level of absorption leads to the insight and experience of our true nature. In the deepest level of samadhi, one gains knowledge of one's inner being or self. Yoga and vinyasa yoga, other other schools have called it power yoga, Anusara, all of these different approaches to yoga. They are still using the same system that we're going to use today, we're going to learn today, which is called Vinyasa yoga. Give me a hand raise if you've heard that term before, Vinyasa. Yeah. So those pop yogas, they're using Vinyasa yoga, but what they're not utilizing is mind concentration, samadhi, right? To a degree, yes. But in Ashtanga yoga, there's the observance of an early morning practice. So if you've never gotten up first thing in the morning and done a yoga practice before, I would definitely, after today's workshop, I would definitely encourage you to try it. Or if it's been a while, I would be lying to you if I said that physically the body feels great in the morning. I would be lying very much. The body often in the morning is actually quite stiff unless you're a unicorn. And it's a little bit more challenging to warm up into the asanas. That said, after a while, the body does adjust. It's just those first couple movements, like, ooh, But if you pay attention to the quality of the mind in the morning, other really tough observances are no screens before getting on your mat. That's a tough one for me because I love Instagram. So no screens before getting on the mat. Avoid looking at text messages. Avoid, anything that's gonna bring that like little adrenaline hit, right? Just get on the mat and notice the quality of your mind. That is one of those key elements in Ashtanga yoga, is not only are we doing this intense physical practice, and I'll get into why I use the word intense in a little bit, but we're paying attention to the quality of the mind. Is everyone following me? Go ahead, Marcy.
What about coffee? What about your coffee?
Right.
You wait till after your practice to drink your coffee?
You know what? Hold on. I'm sorry. Hold on one second. Okay, so that is a great question with a complex answer. So, does everyone here drink coffee?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Pascal and I have had a lot of conversations about coffee and our love for coffee.
Yes.
So when you're drinking coffee and you get like halfway through the first glass, and let's say it's like light roast, like, I don't know, something from South Africa, like just the good stuff. How does that make you feel in your body? Yeah, exactly. Anyone else have any, like, qualitatively, if you could make a comparison to it?
Awake?
Awake? Yeah. So, woo. Anything else?
I mean, for me, coffee, it's
Maybe
like,
a little bit nervous,
Yeah,
Mhm.
for sure.
agitated.
Yeah. Yep.
Eager to move, eager to not be still.
Yeah. Let's roll with that. So, awake, but the quality of coffee in Ayurveda, which is the sister science of yoga, it's called life science, the quality of coffee is called rajastic. So rajastic means, let's see if I can make an example, a really fun example of embodied rajas. Has anyone ever seen Hot Tub Time Machine? You know Lou, right? If you haven't seen Hot Tub Time Machine, so Lou in Hot Tub Time Machine, he's crazy. He's just like singing classic rock. He's causing trouble. He's like, you know, he's a man in, you know, a little past his prime, still carving his name into hotel, you know, hotel drawers. Just crazy. So that Lou is an example of rajas way out of balance, right? So if you take coffee before practice, I'm not gonna lie, I do. I take coffee before practice. It helps me with bowel movements. It helps me be alert. I teach on Zoom in the morning, so this is a whole other way of focusing. I need to be really careful to not go to the dark side and become the Lou. So that, right, that would be my take on coffee. Another great example, and as you kind of approach your practice and how you set up your very own best way of getting to the mat in the morning. So Pattabhi Jois, who was one of the key collaborators in developing the method of Ashtanga yoga back in the 1930s, Ashtanga yoga as we practice it in the physical form, Ashtanga yoga in the philosophical form has been around for much longer. So Pattabhi Jois was coined as saying no coffee, no prana. Coffee's like energy, or prana is the Sanskrit term for like energy or that which moves. So all the Ashtangis were like, oh, no coffee, no prana. So they would just like hit the espresso hard before getting on the mat. Well, what we started to notice as the living, breathing history of yoga is that as we got into the different chapters of our lives, our 20-year-old bodies could handle the acidity and the rajastic nature of coffee, but our mid 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80-year-old bodies would develop indigestion, would develop digestive issues, would develop migraines. So conversations amongst the community as a practice has evolved, you know, creates this question around coffee of what does it mean in your body, and just taking a deeper look at the rajastic qualities and also the acidic qualities of it, and understanding, you know, are you going to the dark side? Are you still in a good, like, what is your relationship to it? And just getting comfortable with that, and understanding for yourself, because the idea is we want to be able to do yoga when we're 90, you know, like, and I'm not going to be the same Melissa. I mean, I'll still be the same Melissa, but I'm going to have a very different body at 90 years old. So these observances now kind of feed into how the yoga evolves in our bodies over these different chapters of our lives. Any questions around that? I feel like coffee is a very important topic.
I was just thinking that I think I might try a different routine in the morning of having my coffee after a very short practice, because once I start drinking my coffee, I just get distracted with all the other things that I have to do.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And that,
unless I don't have to go to work that day, you know.
yeah, for sure. And you know, I'm a big fan of doing like controlled experiments within the framework of these things, right? So if you make a huge shift in the morning where, you know, you stop drinking coffee and it's been your ritual for like 20 years, give yourself a month observe. Maybe it works for you, maybe it doesn't, but at least you have that container of reflection to be able to come back and see what the results are. Because I can't imagine, you know, you'd get enough information from just doing that for 1 or 2 days. You would need a good chunk of time to be able to decide if it works for you or not. That would be my 2 cents. Sorry if you didn't want the 2 cents.
I think, can I say something as well? When I was practicing more recently in Michigan, there was a class that started at 6 a.m. and I am not a morning person at all. And coffee is like the first thing I look forward to when I get up. But this practice at 6 a.m., I thought I'll just try it once. And I just rolled out of bed and went without coffee. And it was so peaceful and so calming and such a like balanced way to start my day that I was so hungry to do yoga that early in the morning. So like my fondness or my sort of love of coffee was replaced by this enthusiasm to like just get on the mat.
Yeah.
So maybe for me, it would be a distraction to have a coffee because it would replace sort of the love of yoga or like this desire for yoga.
Yeah, for sure. I love that. That's an important topic too that we'll kind of get into moving forward, is like with the practice, you know, if you do start to peel away the layers of samsara hala hala, which is these conditioned experiences in life or habits, you start to peel away those layers, the mind associates the peeling away with aversion if it's not replaced with something that gives you prana, sattvic prana, like good, clean prana. And, you know, I think I'd be remiss to say that it was always easy if you did a replacement piece, kind of like what you said, Whitney, like that beautiful experience. I think sometimes we do have to kind of battle those moments of wanting to and not wanting to practice and just get on the mat and do the thing on the day when we don't feel 100%. And we're going to talk a little bit today too, using the system of Ashtanga yoga, how to meet those days, those more difficult days, with a sense of groundedness and a sense of accomplishment. Because there's nothing worse than getting up at stupid o'clock, landing on the mat, feeling completely lost or inadequate with how you're practicing, ending and thinking, oh, damn, like, I can't believe I didn't do headstand today. I'm such a bad yogi. And understanding there's a beginning and there's an end. And within the framework of that, there's a very palatable style of practice where you can still get the benefits of the concentration and the physical movement without having to push your body physically to a place that it might not be ready to go to on that given day. As far as the differences between kind of like pop yoga and Ashtanga yoga, is that starting to get a little clearer? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. What do you think, Jess? Give me a thumbs up. Good. Well, you don't have to give me a thumbs up if you don't feel that way. Tell me you agree. No. Okay, cool. So we'll move forward, move on, and talk about breath technique in Ashtanga yoga. The method of breath that we use is called free breathing with sound. When the breath becomes audible, it becomes tangible. And that tangibility creates something for the mind to focus on. the breath is hands down the most powerful tool inside of this practice. A great example of using Ashtanga yoga in a situation where the body can't do the more, intense expressions of the pose would be a teacher named Richard Freeman and his wife. They would go to hospice and work with folks in bodies that were very ill. And they would teach them Ashtanga yoga. And in the beginning of the day, they would get up every day at a certain time, and it would be inhale, exhale. And that was their practice. Just lifting a finger, because that's all that the physical body could do. But it still had that samadhi quality, that anchoring of the mind in physical movement. And they were able to do free breathing with sound. We're going to do at the end of this class Ujjayi pranayama, which raise your hand if you've heard the term Ujjayi breath. Yeah. So Ujjayi breath is actually really technical. Free breathing with sound is still a technique, but it's not as technical as Ujjayi breath. And hopefully by the end of this class, you'll be able to understand and embody the difference of it. So what I'd like you to do is find a nice, comfortable seated position. Go ahead and find a tall spine. Inhale through your nose. And then when you exhale, open your mouth and very slowly make an sound. Yeah. Inhale. Three more times. This time when you exhale, close your mouth halfway through the exhale. And do that 2 more times. Relax your breath. And let that technique go. Good. You may be feeling a little lightheaded. That's normal. We're breathing a lot slower than we would be in the physical asana practice. Our next move for free breathing with sound is going to be finding that same quality that you found when you exhaled with the mouth closed. The quality where it feels like your nasal passages and the back of your throat have wind and sound moving through them. Raise your hand if you felt that a little bit. Okay, so we're gonna keep practicing this so we all get it. So when you inhale, it should sound like this. Exhale. Could you guys hear that? No? Okay. We're just gonna have to go with it without the intense mic sound, 'cause my Rodes are charging. Go ahead and find a nice comfortable seated position. Hands to the knees. With the mouth closed, inhale through the nose. Open the back of the throat and the nasal cavity. Exhale, making that, but with the mouth closed. Inhale. Exhale. Good. Inhale. Exhale. Two more. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. And return to your natural state of breath. And let that go. All right. Any questions on that? Please ask questions because I see some quizzical faces. Were you guys able to hear the sound of your breath when you were inhaling as well as when you were exhaling? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, this Tim Miller's class on Maui, it's in a room on Maui and there's about 20 people in the room and they're all breathing and sweating. And when I followed this class the other day, it was the most motivated I've been in a long time. And it was because of their breathing. I was thinking somebody should make a sound video with just breathing. It would be a great motivator for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know, as we work today, it might not happen because we're gonna do we're gonna learn a variation of practice in the beginning that is going to be something you'll be able to do more than likely every day, regardless of what's going on in your life, right? So something that's very kind of palatable and easy. But if you're doing a more intense practice, and we have some Bikram friends, Beam, this might be something that's very new for you, but we also have like Ashtangi friends as well. And Jess, I'm sure in Yoga Parkside, you've taken some intense classes, right? If you focus on the breath while doing the more grand physical movements, the type of heat that builds in the body is very different, right? Go ahead, Elizabeth.
I have a question about the difference between Ujjayi breathing and free breathing with sound. Is the difference really concentration? Wait, or no?
It's technique, you know, and I think I was going to teach it at the end of class, but I feel like after understanding where we're all coming from, it's not going to be too much to teach it now. So you can actually feel the difference of what Ujjayi breath is and what free breathing with sound is technique wise. So we'll do that now. Go ahead and find a nice comfortable seat. And close your eyes. Free breathing with sound to start. Inhale through your nose, creating sound. Exhale, mouth closed. Sound. We'll do that 2 more times. Inhale. Exhale. Free breathing with sound. Inhale. And exhale. And then getting into the technique of Ujjayi breath. This time when you inhale, only inhale into the upper part of your chest, slowly and with control. And then exhale, just same thing like free breathing with sound. Inhale only into the upper part of your chest. Exhale, same thing. Okay, now here comes Ujjayi breath. Inhale into the upper part of your chest. Exhale from below your navel. Inhale into the upper part of your chest, right? Exhale from below your navel. Bring your belly in. We'll do one more like that. Inhale. And exhale from below your navel. And let that go. Come back to your regular breath. Elizabeth, I like this face. There's questions. There's questions happening. Go ahead.
Well, when you know, I wasn't exhaling because I wasn't exactly sure what you meant at first. And I find that's a common, when experience, right? When you're thinking about your muscles in a new way. And so you're just, I was just waiting to make that mental connection to my body.
Right.
When you're breathing from, your chest, but then you're exhaling, I was like, I was just trying to put it together. And so more practice I've always found is the best way to go. And then it just becomes second nature. But at first I didn't know what you meant. I couldn't, the connection just wasn't there quite yet.
I think it'll be helpful if I show you the difference in diaphragmatic movement as well on my body. So I've been practicing for a while this technique, so it's a little easier to see. I'm a very visual learner, so okay. So up here, let's see. So this would be just free breathing with sound, right? Okay. And now Ujjayi breath. You see the difference? The translation for Ujjayi breath is skull shining breath. Ah, yeah. It's intense. It's a very intense pranayama technique if it's taught traditionally. So the move is when you're doing Ashtanga yoga, you just don't want to be that intense in your asana practice right away. And the reason being, it's set up in series. So we all start with primary series of Ashtanga yoga, free breathing with sound. I always joke around with students, You got to learn the Britney Spears choreography. It always feels a little like yoga twister at first. Everyone's like, right arm, left arm, what am I doing? And then over time, it becomes embodied, right? And that's why it's really helpful to learn how to hear the breath first, because a lot of times what will happen with beginners is, you're doing the poses and you're like, wait, where, and I just can't, and this feels, am I breathing? And the mind is meant to do that in practice, always coming back to the breath. But that's that monkey throwing the banana at the wall, right? We're just taming it back to focusing on the breath, right? Marcy, wait, did you have a question?
Yeah, I was learning that Kapalabhati breathing is skull shining.
Oh, you're so right. I'm sorry. Kapalabhati
That's all
is
right.
shining breath. Thank you. Thank you for that correction. So Kapalabhati is another really intense pranayama exercise as well, called skull shining. Ujjayi breath is not translated into that. That's all I know. So as far as technique goes in the asanas, the free breathing with sound, do you guys feel confident to be able to practice that? Does the technique feel good?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay.
I like to think of Ujjayi kind of like the ocean breathing. I don't know, I had an instructor where you're creating the sound of sort of the wave, but I think this free breathing with sound is a little bit, it's like Ujjayi, but just kind of like maybe a smaller body of water rather than an ocean, right?
Yeah, I think that's awesome. The ocean sound, you definitely want that ocean sound with free breathing. The difference between Ujjayi and free breathing with sound is that Ujjayi is like, the inhale is going to a specific place. So you're inhaling from here and you're exhaling from your navel center, whereas free breathing with sound is just breathe with sound. And that same ocean-like quality that you were taught, but less of a focus on specifically up into the chest and specifically down into the lower abdomen. I'm getting ahead of myself. This is a disclaimer. As your practice lengthens in time, let's say 10 years from now, you've been practicing daily, you will be able to do Ujjayi breath in Ashtanga yoga, but it always starts with free breathing with sound. Just a little bit of an easier technique as you start to get in to the practice. So then
I just wanted to see if this analogy, because like there's two different things happening when the ocean is like the ocean comes to shore and then it pulls back, right? So that's what's happening in Ujjayi breathing too, right? Where you're inhaling to your chest, but then you're exhaling in from your abdomen, right? So there's the coming to shore and the pulling away, right? So two different things in both.
In Ujjayi breath and in free breathing with sound?
Well, no, free breathing with sounds, it sounds as if you're talking about the ocean. It's just sort of like not really moving very much because it's all the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
But then Ujjayi breathing is in the ocean metaphor, the tide is coming to shore and then it's pulling back. And then just like the way that you're breathing in to one place and then you're exhaling from another place.
Exactly. Yeah. And, the action of the ocean current and the wave-like quality of the breath is there in free breathing with sound.
Okay.
But the attention in the beginning is meant to be on learning primary series, the technique, the the asanas. Once that gets into the body on a cellular level, then go ride those waves. Like, let's start thinking about the ocean. But technique wise, you want to keep it nice and easy at first, especially because the diaphragm, you know, we all know it to be a muscle, right? The diaphragm is a smooth muscle. And just like any muscle, over time, and let's say, you know, you've been in a trauma body or a body that's had lots of stress, over time, the muscle can get very tight. So if you've ever, oh gosh, one great example, you know, a lot of men who have been construction workers that I teach privately, you know, they'll go to reach their arm up, right? And they can only go here, right? So inhale, it's going to stretch the body from the inside, but you don't have a ton of space if the body hasn't moved a ton over a long period of time. So that's another reason why free breathing with sound can be so effective, is because if you breathe slowly and with sound, you're going to be slowing down those muscular movements inside, and it's not going to be so intense in the body for the beginner. Any more questions about breath? This is really wonderful, you guys.
When you say like breathe to the chest, does it mean like breathe half of what we practiced before, like half of the deep breath we were taking?
That's such a good question, Beam. So if we're talking specifically about Ujjayi breath, because it's a more advanced pranayama technique, and Beam, pranayama just means prana is breath and yama is observance. So pranayama is just an observance of breath. So if you're practicing the more advanced version, you want to breathe into your chest, but the same length as the breath that you were doing before. And that's where it gets more challenging. Yeah, that was a great question. Anything else, guys?
Okay. Yeah.
Thank you. No? Okay, cool. Well, I noticed everyone kind of got up and moved around a little bit. Let's take a couple minutes break, and then we're going to get into some actual physical yoga movement. So if you want to grab, you know, a small sip of water, run to the bathroom really quick, and then we will hop back on the Zoom.
We're on a break, Dawn, in case you,
I was gonna say,
I think you were feeling when she said that, so
okay.
taking a 5-minute break.
Speaking of coffee, I think that's the problem with coffee, is it fills your bladder too quickly.
Yep.
came back and everyone was gone.
It seemed like this very organic breaking of the crew. I was like, gotta go with it. Gotta feel that flow. Cool. So in the interest of time, I'll just keep us going and everyone can kind of join back as they come back. So vinyasa. Vinyasa is the Sanskrit word for put together in a special way. Every Sanskrit word has 1,000 different meanings. You may have someone teach you vinyasa in a different way, but that's how over the years I've understood it to be. So if we're gonna use the term vinyasa yoga, right, which is the technique that we'll be practicing in Ashtanga yoga, how are we putting these movements together in a special way is the question. The movements are happening inside of the breath. So our breath technique that we're going to be using today is free breathing with sound. And inside of that free breath is where we're going to move. So from a seated position, real easy, we're going to practice that technique. So just a simple movement, arms up and arms down, right? So finding a nice comfortable seat. Inhale, through your nose. And then exhale, then move your arms. Inhale, move. Exhale, move. Do that a couple more times. Keep moving inside of the breath. Breath initiates movement. Good, and let that go. Did anyone want to move before they started their breath? That's the coffee. Right? So yeah, that's like, I mean, gosh, you get on your mat and you're like, like that's that Rajastic energy, right? So what we're working to do is kind of harness that by breathing inside of the breath. So that's vinyasa, right? And what we're going to do with vinyasa is create specific movements or a specific set of movements that are going to happen inside of this breath pattern. Come to stand at the top of your mat. I'm going to watch first and then join in. All right. Since we're doing a version of this that's going to be a little like, I don't want to use the word gentle because I think it's still incredibly technical and challenging, but go ahead and bring your feet hip distance. Yeah. And notice your feet. If you stood turned out, bring them parallel. And if you stood turned in, bring them parallel. Great. And then drop your hands at your sides. Good. Inhale, reach your arms up. Good. And then exhale, bring your hands down. Good. Do that 2 more times. Inhale, bring your arms up. Exhale, Bring your hands down. Good. One more. Inhale. And exhale. That could be a sun salutation, right? On a given day where things are really tough, right? Mostly students of mine or clients of mine that are going through grief, doing this is enough. And then you would do the seated finishing poses, which we're going to learn in a little bit, right? So coming back to the top of your mat. Can you guys hear me okay? Okay. So coming back to the top of your mat, you're going to inhale, reach your arms up, moving inside of the breath. Exhale, bring your hands down, bend your knees and bring your hands to your thighs right above your knees. Tuck your chin and round your spine. Inhale, pull your chest forward, bring your shoulder blades onto your back, lift your chin, and exhale again, round your spine. Inhale, come all the way up to stand, reach your arms up. Exhale, hands down. We'll do that 2 more times, a little faster. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, bend the knees, hands to the thighs, chin to chest, round the spine. Inhale, lift the chest, pull your shoulder blades back. Exhale, round the spine. Inhale, come all the way up, stretch and reach your arms up. Exhale, hands to the sides of the body. Last one like this. Inhale, reach your arms up. Exhale, bend your knees, hands to your thighs, right above the knees. Tuck the chin, round your spine. Inhale, lift your chest, shoulder blades pull on the back. Exhale and round. Inhale, come up to stand, stretch and reach your arms up. Exhale, hands to the sides of the body. Same movement again. Find a wall somewhere around. I'm going to adjust my camera. All right. Yeah, that's great. Inhale, start to reach your arms up. Exhale, bend your knees a little bit, hands to the thighs, drop your chin, round your spine. Inhale, lift your chest, shoulder blades on the back. Exhale, round the spine. And then as you inhale, you're gonna bring your hands to the wall, shoulder height, step your feet back, and bring your head in line with the tops of your arms. Breathe 5 times. Free breathing with sound. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Inhale, walk your feet forward, bring your hands right to your thighs and lift your chin. It's a pretty fast movement. Exhale, round the spine. Inhale, come all the way up to stand, stretch and reach your arms up. Exhale, hands to the sides of the body. We're going to do that 3 more times. Inhale, reach your arms up. Exhale, hands to the thighs, bend the knees, tuck the chin, round the spine. Inhale, lift the chest. Exhale, round the spine. Inhale, brings the hands to the wall. Shoulder height, feet back, head in line with the tops of the arms. Breathe 5 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Big inhale brings your hands back to your thighs, chest lifts. Exhale, round the spine. Inhale, come all the way up to stand. Stretch and reach the arms up. Exhale, hands to the sides of the body. Last one like this. Inhale, reach the arms up. Exhale, bend the knees, hands to the thighs, tuck and round the spine. Inhale, lift the chest. Exhale, round the spine. Inhale, brings your hands to the wall. Walk your feet back. Head in line with the tops of the arms. Breathe 5 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Walk your feet forward, hands to your thighs. Lift your chin and your chest. Inhale. Exhale, tuck and round the spine. Inhale, come all the way up to stand. Touch the palms over the head. Exhale, hands to the sides of the body. Okay, going to a more intense version of a sun salutation, or just doing what we were doing now. Inhale, reach your arms up towards the ceiling. Exhale, forward fold over your legs. Bend your knees as much as you need to plant your hands on the ground. Inhale, head up. Exhale, step your feet back. Lower your knees down and take a little push-up. Inhale, point your feet, lift your chest, maybe lift your arms to straight, but shoulders down and away from the ears. Exhale, coming back to a wide knee child's pose. Breathe 5 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This movement's quick. Inhale, step both of your feet forward. Hands firmly planted on the ground. Lift the chest. Exhale, fold. Inhale, come all the way up to stand. Touch your palms and look up. Exhale, hands to the sides of the body. 2 more like that. Inhale, reach your arms up. Exhale, forward folding over your legs. Plant your palms on the ground next to your feet. Inhale, look forward. Exhale, step your feet back. Lower your knees down. Take a little push-up. Elbows back. Point your feet. Straighten your arms. Shoulders away from the ears. And then exhale, wide knee child's pose. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. One big inhale is going to bring you back forward to the top of your mat. Hands planted on the floor, chin lifted. Exhale, fold. Inhale, come all the way up to stand. Touch your palms and look up. Exhale, hands to the sides of the body. All right, so those of you who have a sun salutation that you normally do, show me what you would do in your normal practice. Inhale, lift your arms, touch your palms and look up. Exhale, forward fold. Jess, you can watch for sure. Inhale, lift your chest. Exhale, step or jump back. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog or child's pose. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Inhale, step or jump forward. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, come all the way up to stand, stretch and reach your arms up. Exhale, hands to the sides of the body. Last one, inhale, reach the arms up. Exhale, bending at the waist, forward fold. Inhale, look forward. Exhale, step or jump back. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Inhale, step or jump forward. Exhale and fold. Inhale, come all the way up to stand. Touch your palms over your head. Exhale, hands to the sides. All right, and let that go. Step into my office. Really great work. The initial variations of the Surya Namaskara that we just did, it's a totally legal move, right? Any questions about the sequencing?
When you had us up on the wall breathing, was that supposed to be a more rapid than the breath within the poses? Because it sort of felt like I had to punch it up to like kind of get with your timing.
Yeah, so it was the thing with modifying, the thing with taking considerations in Surya Namaskars is that it can be way too cathartic if you don't pick up the pace of the breath. And I find it's easiest to do that and build that faster pace in downward facing dog, which is where we were at in the wall, is that modified downward facing dog expression. Great question. Anything else come up for you guys? How do you feel, like qualitatively, how do you feel in your body right now after having done those different variations of Surya Namaskara A?
I like the standing version of a Surya Namaskar A. Nice, like, you know, if you're like picture yourself in a bathroom where you can't really touch anything, you can kind of do it anyway, which is a nice break in the daytime, in the middle of the day.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
Thanks, Marcy. Anything else?
And the like look like feel like a cat cow, you know.
Yep. Yeah.
Hands on the thighs.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Sorry, Whitney, what were you?
Well, I just want to be, just for my own clarity. So
Yeah.
that that's intentional. So in Ashtanga, are we going to pick up the pace of the breathing when we're doing the sun salutations, when we're hanging out in down dog for that breathing? Is it supposed to pick up there or not? Is it supposed to kind of give the body more warmth by breathing a little bit faster? Kind of
think of it, yeah, like think of it as pumping a bellow.
Okay.
I'm not sure if now is the best time to talk about this because it might be too much with the other techniques we're talking about. There's the Mysore style of Ashtanga yoga, which is self-led in a group setting. Right now we're using Zoom Shala as our group setting. And then there's a led version of Ashtanga yoga, which is what we just did, where I'm leading your breath and guiding the breath work. In your Mysore practice, intentionally you're meant to experiment with those things. The reason we're picking up the breath, even if we're doing a less like physically intense version of sunset, the Surya Namaskars, is because however you break it down, this is a fire practice. Mm-hmm. So we're building heat in the body to a degree. It's not a practice where when you're in it, you want to feel like you're going to fall asleep. You want to move, you want to create heat and that intentional movement in the body. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anything else come up for you guys?
Can I add something to that?
Please, yeah.
So, Whitney, I don't do lead class at this point because of physical reasons, because it goes too fast for me. And the reason I really love Ashtanga is because I can do it at my own pace. And also, I like to perform as I've always been an athlete, and that keeps me from doing that. It keeps me from performing. It keeps me from trying to do so much that my body eventually just gives up. So that's one my take on it. And also for people who have anxiety, I think that it really helps for them to be able to do their own practice.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Thank you. I love that. One of my favorite instructors, he always used to say, try not to try. And that's
Yes.
very challenging for people that are like performer type, achiever type personalities.
Mhm.
But that's the point of yoga, to take you out of that context.
Yeah, and speaking specifically to this method, there's a benediction, an opening and a closing mantra that is chanted before and as we wrap up the practice. I went back and forth with if I wanted to teach it today, but in an effort of transparency, I love to sing and I love to sing Sanskrit. And I could literally do a 2-day workshop on the first line of the benediction. So I thought I would leave that for maybe another day or something, and another time. In the opening mantra, there's a stanza that's samsara hala hala moha shantyaye. So before we even start practice, we chant this mantra, and the translation of that is removing the poison of conditioned existence, which sounds very scary and terrible. But what that means to me, translated in a different way, in a softer, more feminine way, which isn't to say that feminine isn't fierce, but I think we tend to like things that are less rigid and more soft and round and smooth. The idea is we're taking those patterns, those conditioned ways of being, and we're just watching them instead of being the ones in the audience watching everything happen. We're actually players. We're participating actively in the conditioned patterns as opposed to the patterns ruling us. And that's one of the, Pascal, you said so beautifully, like one of the things that you've observed is this tendency to want to go beyond what is your limit in your body. And yoga is a wonderful way of observing that pattern. Whereas without the yoga, would the pattern be observed? We don't know because you're not there. You're observing the pattern. You're a practitioner. It is what it is. But wow, like this idea of removing the poison of just accepting, like, have you ever heard someone say, well, I am what I am? And the yogi in me is like, you are what you perceive yourself to be. And then that just pisses people off. So I don't really say that to people. I just go, But really like it's true, right? Like you are what you perceive yourself to be. And so on a more philosophical level, that's what's going on in the practice, in these more physical ways of observing the body. Again, this would be another workshop, but there's a study called the kleshas, which are the again, poisons to enlightenment. I don't really like that translation particularly, but obstacles to enlightenment. So ways of being in the world that we all have. One of them, for example, is fear of death, right? So how we operate in the world around the fear of death. I'm getting ahead of myself. Anyways,
I was
great
just gonna
question.
say, I did a workshop for the Hanuman Chalisa. We did it for 2 weeks and it was great. And I love your chanting. I remember it so well. And I hope when you end the workshop today, can you please end with some special chant?
Sure,
something
we'll do the
different.
benediction. I'd love to do that. Yeah. Is everyone familiar with
Thank you.
Hanuman? No? So Hanuman is, in Hinduism, he's the monkey god. You might have seen him carrying a mountain. So Hanuman symbolizes that his whole, he was devoted to service, but he could not see anything through unless someone told him he could. And so someone said, Hanuman, go move the mountain. And he's like, okay. But he wouldn't have moved the mountain without someone saying that he could, which is kind of this grander expression of accountability and having devotion and level of service. So thank you, Hanuman Chalisa. I could send out a recording of that too. Any other questions that came up from that? Okay. All right, so Surya Namaskara B. We're gonna do the same thing that we did with Surya Namaskara A, except integrated into Surya Namaskara B. So go ahead and come to the top of your mat. Good, and we'll keep the feet parallel for this one as well to start. Notice your feet.
Do you want to see face the wall?
This one, we're not going to use the wall. We'll utilize either downward facing dog or child's pose. Great. So start to breathe in and out through your nose with sound, free breathing with sound. Inhale, bend your knees and lift your arms. Touch your palms and look at your thumbs. Exhale, bring your hands to your thighs, tuck your chin and round your spine. Inhale, lift your chest. Exhale, bring your hands to the ground and step back. Lower your knees and take a little bend at the elbows. Straighten your arms, lift your chest, breathe in. Exhale, child's pose. Inhale, step your right foot forward, bring both hands to the top of your right knee and lift your chest. Exhale, bring your hands down, knees to the floor and bend your elbows. Inhale, lift your chest, shoulders down the back, maybe straighten the arms or keep them bent. Exhale, child's pose. Inhale, left foot comes forward, both hands to the top of the knee, lift the chest. Exhale, bring your hands down, step your left foot back, bend your elbows and lower halfway. Inhale, lift your chest, straighten your arms. Exhale, child's pose. Breathe 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Inhale, this is a quick movement. Step both feet forward. Exhale and fold. Inhale, bend your knees and lift your arms, touch your palms. And straighten the legs, hands to the sides of the body. All right, we're gonna amp it up. Bend the knees and lift the arms, inhale. Exhale, forward fold. Hands plant on the floor. Bend your knees as much as you need. Inhale, lift the chin, look forward. Exhale, step both feet back. You can lower your knees or keep them lifted. Bend the elbows. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, this time come to downward facing dog. Inhale, step your right foot forward, lower your back heel, come all the way up and lift your arms, warrior one. This is a quick movement, hands down, right foot back, lower your knees or keep them lifted, chaturanga. Inhale, lift your chest. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, left foot forward, lift your arms, touch your palms and look up. Exhale, hands down to the floor, step your left foot back, bend the elbows. Inhale, lift the chest. Exhale, child's pose or downward facing dog. 1, 2. Free breathing with sound. 3, 4, 5. Inhale, this is a quick transition. Bring both feet forward, lift the chest. Exhale and fold. Inhale, come all the way up to stand. Touch your palms over your head. Exhale, hands to the sides of the body. Good. All right, let's take a moment to debrief. Anyone else a little out of breath? Cool. So any questions about Surya Namaskara B?
I always find, Melissa, that I'm not finding the same place on the mat. So I'm like moving back and I have to reset my position on the mat. Yeah. And it's a distraction to the flow and to the breathing as well.
Yeah. And you know, Whitney, it's a total legal move. I'd be lying if I said that there wasn't some negotiation between how you move on the mat and like getting in to the practice. What I find for my practice that's really helpful, because I travel a lot too, is wherever I land in whatever variation of down dog I'm doing, be still. I just tell myself, be still. None of that, I mean, this is maybe a little bit of projection on what your experience and practice is, but if I landed in asana, I'm like, oh, I feel like there's this kind of shifting inside of every part of my body. Like I need to pull this in or that in, or I'm not breathing or blah, blah, blah. Just down dog, boom, be still. Enter into the state of the asana, focus on the breath. And that I find, it breaks it up. If that makes sense.
Yeah, so you don't use like a permanent marker on, on your mat or something and like, help yourself, because then you're trying to achieve something rather than just sort of embody the practice.
Yeah, and totally. And here's the thing with Ashtanga yoga too, because we're working on this like deep absorption samadhi-based principle, there's not a lot of unicorns and glitter that I actually find really fun about some other styles of yoga where like, you'll be getting ready to go into an upward facing dog and it's like, and I actually really love that. Like if Kesha's playing and we're like, doing like sweet, like it's fun, it's great. This is a little different because of the nature of what we're cultivating in the Ashtanga system is like that samadhi and that absorption. So, you want to like as little movements as possible is what we're going for, which is what I think you're feeling intuitively is like, I just want to focus and I'm moving all over the place. And So my intuition says that if you did decide to do, you know, a daily practice for a while, that would sort itself out over time.
Yeah, I
So
think also
traveling around.
being tall is difficult too because the mats are never long enough. So
Yeah, I feel you on that.
tall, I've never met you, but I assume you're tall.
I'm a tall girl for sure. I feel you. Anything else come up with that?
I travel backwards. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Don.
No, go ahead.
I travel backwards more like that when I use your cue to plant my hands next to my feet. You know, I don't know if that makes the difference, but
Yeah, super interesting. And you know that cue too, Dawn, is it's coming from this idea of bandha, right? Have you heard the term before?
Yeah.
So, oh gosh, again, just throwing this out there, but this is a thing that people talk a lot about is bandha. But let's just talk about it as like foundation, the lock-in foundation. So if you can plant your hands when you're jumping back or stepping back, even if your legs aren't straight, there's a grounding effect in the body that is so therapeutic. And I hate to miss it in primary series and Ashtanga and really encourage it. It's also the way that Shirachi started to teach as well. And I've considered it a lot, but it does affect the traveling. And I can't quite figure it out either. Like I've been, yeah, I don't know, to be continued. Marcy, you were gonna say something?
I was just going to mention about the gaze,
Mm.
the drishti,
Mhm.
the tip of the nose, like basically throughout your whole Surya Namaskara. Well, not in down dog, and not when you're looking at your thumbs, but it helps me to keep focused. And I think I have a habit of when I'm in chaturanga, I look down.
Mm.
I think it just helps me relax my neck.
Mm.
And
Absolutely.
I don't know if that's a bad thing though, because I tend to have a very tight neck.
So raise your hand if you're familiar with the term drishti. Okay, Jess, I'm going to explain a little bit about this. So drishti is the Sanskrit term for point of focus. And it's taught last in Ashtanga yoga for a very specific reason, is that there's a lot of other stuff going on. You don't want to put another shrimp on the Barbie. Like drishti will come for lots of folks. It happens organically where, I'll have beginner students ask me, after a month or two in practice, Melissa, where am I supposed to be looking? And I'm like, okay, now we have the conversation about drishti. But Marcy was talking about a specific drishti called nasagri drishti, which is nose gazing. And it is incredibly grounding, just like you said. It's something called vata pacifying. And what that means is it just takes the monkey throwing the bananas at the wall and peels a banana and lets the monkey enjoy the banana. It just helps us focus on one thing. And on a scientific level too, you're taking and stimulating ocularly both sides of the brain, and it does have an effect on the pituitary gland, which is another really important piece of yoga. Is we do a lot of thinking about this place here, which is where our pituitary gland lives. When in doubt of where you should be looking, just look at the tip of your nose. Know that every movement and every asana in Ashtanga yoga has a specific breath count, a specific position, and a specific gaze point that will be taught over time. Nothing is ambiguous in this method. Everything is very, very clear, very systematic. It's how the student absorbs it and the length of time and the way that the student absorbs it that has its own variances, because we all come to the practice with our very own unique selves. Any other questions about Surya Namaskar B or anything else that came up? No. Is everyone okay if we go over about 5 minutes? Yeah.
Yes. And I have a question about Drishti. I find it really difficult looking at my nose, even to the point where I have a visceral reaction about not wanting to do it. I don't want to do it at all.
Right. Yeah, and you're not the only one. This is very common.
Why? I guess that's really what I'm wondering. And maybe when you said grounding, I'm thinking, oh, well, I prefer to be floating on top of the, I prefer to, or not prefer, I'm more accustomed to not be grounded. And so that's me stepping out of my comfort zone, but I don't know.
This is a great conversation to have. So aversion is a dance that we do with yoga. Aversion is the feeling that comes up when you get up in time for yoga and you're like, nah, I'm just going to have another cup of coffee, right? Because we just don't want to do the things that we're not comfortable doing. Like it's stretching our comfort zone. So, but you have to, well, you don't have to. The way I try and teach and work with students is like, just dip your toes into the water. There's no reason to, dive first into the polar plunge. Like, let's take this slowly. So talking specifically about drishti and gaze point, the move for that would be just look at your cheeks or look at the floor, right? And slowly work the eyes into the tip of the nose. But the most important thing is that the eyes are open and fixed on something. The eyes don't close in this practice, always open. And that's tough, especially for gals like us, Elizabeth, because we're just like, the clouds. We feel most comfortable up there, right? But if we can keep the eyes open and fixed on something, that creative energy is not depleted, it's actually enhanced. It raises the aesthetic senses. It doesn't diminish them. So we're able to feel and experience the world in this more real and vibrant way. Right? That's that samsara hala hala. And it really is, this is what I love about this method so much, is like these tools, they seem so simple, right? But in practice, it's like a really good tomato in a pasta sauce, right? Like you don't need a ton of ingredients to make a really good meal. You just need some good quality ingredients, right? Just a few good quality ones. So that's kind of what we're working with here, is like enhancing the quality of these really good ingredients that we're using. So slowly moving into the right tomato.
When I try never to look exactly at the tip of my nose because I go cross-eyed, but just towards the nose is enough.
Yeah, for sure. I've never seen anyone's eyes get stuck, but I've been wrong before, and I'm all about intuition. So, if there's intuitively something that's telling you, they may not go back, you gotta listen to that.
For me at first, all I could see was my cheeks. So I could not see my nose. And the reason is because I have really prominent cheekbones. So I could see like just the little skin that was going like this. Could not look at the tip of my nose in my life. So it took a long time. And even now it's like, it's almost an afterthought. I'm sorry, Melissa, but it is.
It's okay.
Where my mind's going places, because that's the type of person I am. I'm making lists, of things that I needed to do. And suddenly I'm like, oh, nasa drishti. And it's an afterthought. And then suddenly my entire practice changes. That doesn't mean I'm doing it the entire time, but there are moments where suddenly my brain goes to where it's supposed to go. And then it's like, oh,
Exactly. Yeah, for sure. And you know, I think too, as you guys, you know, keep stepping onto your mat in the way that you have been, or if you decide to explore a more Ashtanga based approach to your yoga practices, you'll just begin to notice the qualitative differences between time of day, amount of coffee, and where you're looking. Right? And just how much excess movement is happening within the framework of your practice, and what happens qualitatively to the mind and to the day when the excess is kind of stripped back to you know, to necessary, like, or what's the, hold on. The word essentialism comes to mind. Yeah. So my intention for us today was to teach variations of Surya Namaskara A and B that you would feel comfortable and confident doing no matter what comes up. So hopefully to some degree that's been achieved. I'm recording the session too, so I'll send it out to you guys if you wanted to track back and see the different movements that we did. I also wanted to create a foundation for the method of Ashtanga yoga. So it's, you know, the differentiation between this type of practice and maybe other methods of yoga that you come across. It becomes a little clearer based on discerning what the intention is for each style. So hopefully we've done that to a degree. And we're going to wrap up with this idea of what is the container of practice? How does it start and how does it end? So practice starts with opening mantra, an offering of gratitude. Thank you so much to the teachers who have passed this down. Most Ashtanga practitioners, not all, will do the opening invocation, which I'll also send out a recording of me doing the opening invocation. I think it's pretty all right. So you can listen to it if you'd wanted to. Next step would be 5 sun A's and 3 sun B's. So that's how it starts. And then now we're going to do the 3 seated finishing poses. We'll learn them now. And then the closing benediction. That gives you 15 to 20 minutes of practice that you can do pretty much anywhere you can roll out a yoga mat. So with that being said, I'm going to have you have a comfortable seat on your mat. I'm going to come and do this with you as well. Okay. So first variation we would do would be cross-legged seat. If you have it in your body and it doesn't hurt your knees to do a Padmasana, you can come into lotus pose. And we'll do the variation today where you bring your hands behind your back and grab opposite elbows. Good. And start your free breathing with sound. Take an inhale. Exhale, fold over your legs. And we'll breathe 10 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Inhale, come up, flat spine. Arms out over the knees. First finger and thumb touch at the prince. Jnana Mudra is what this one's called. Looking down at either your cheeks or the tip of your nose or the floor. Breathe 10 times, free breathing with sound. 1, 2, 3, 4,
I can't even see my nose.
5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Last asana is Utputihi. Take your hands, bring them down to the floor, lift your knees up. If you're not in a Padmasana, keep your feet on the floor, but you want to bring your knees really close into your chest. Hands down, knees into the chest, lift your hips up, look at the tip of your nose and breathe 10 times. 1, 2, keep the knees into your chest. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Lower your hips down. Swing your legs through your arms. Come to a tabletop position for now. Inhale, lift your chest. Exhale, tuck your toes and lift your hips. Come into a downward facing dog. Inhale, step both of your feet forward. Exhale into a forward fold. And then come all the way up to stand. Bring your palms into a prayer position. If you know the benediction, go ahead and sing along. Svasti prajabhyah pariparayantam nyayena margena mahim mahishaha go brahmanebhyah shubhamastu nityam lokaha samastaha sukhino bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. You guys, great work today. So the move now is gonna be just lay on your back for like 7 minutes. Take rest, let the yoga kind of sink in. I'm gonna send out a follow-up email with a little bit of information about some stuff that we discussed, as well as the recording. And that's it. So cool to spend today with you guys. Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you. And any questions, yeah, just please stay in touch. And we have Zoom Shala and lead classes on Sundays. So I always love to see friends, see yoga friends. Okay. take rest. Nice work. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Melissa. Bye,
You're welcome,
everybody.
Marcy. Bye.
Good seeing you all.
Good to see
you.